Hello. What's up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and I'm not gonna say I was in a rush to watch this particular show, but I was curious after the insane discourse that was going on online, and the reviews about the show were very mixed. So I did finally watch Agatha All Along. Pump up the jam, pump it up. I want a place to stay. Get your booty on the floor tonight. Make my day. This is a Disney Plus Marvel TV show that was 9 episodes long, I believe. It is officially the follow-up of WandaVision, a show that I actually did enjoy quite a bit. I will say this. I know there are some people who maybe they started watching this show, they watched 1 or 2 episodes, and they weren't impressed. They weren't interested, they didn't like it, and so they didn't finish it. I understand that. I do. And then I know that there are people who watched this and from day one loved it, loved the vibe, loved the fun atmosphere, and probably enjoyed it all the way through. And so I get that as well. I'm going to come down on the side of kind of in the middle, where I didn't love the show, but I didn't hate it either. I think there were some interesting things about it. I think that there were some cool dark horror stuff, especially around the October season that it came out. Catherine Hahn is clearly a great thing about this show, and great to come back as Agatha Harkness. I thought she was great in WandaVision, and I know there were people who, when this show got announced, or when this show, like the trailer came out, they said, who asked for this show? Who wanted this show? And the answer is all of us. When WandaVision came out, all of us loved Catherine Hahn on WandaVision. All of us loved Agatha All Along, and that song in particular. So the idea that Marvel would greenlight a spin-off show of Agatha, that character, based off of that WandaVision show is not shocking. It makes total sense. I think the bigger issue is how long it took to come out. Obviously, we had a pandemic. We had actor strikes and writer strikes, and so I'm not sure that it would have taken this long to come out, all things considered. If it did come out sooner, if it came out a year or two later, maybe people would be slightly more hyped about it, but I think Catherine Hahn was great. It was interesting to see her at the beginning, still stuck in Wanda's curse, where she thinks she's sort of living in other types of TV shows, like a detective show and whatnot. And then she breaks out of the curse, mostly because of this character, Billy, that sort of tries to sneak into her place, and there's a whole lot more going on there. We meet Aubrey Plaza, who is also seemingly trying to get her out of this curse. And with all that going on, the main plot is Agatha has to gather a coven of witches, and they're going to go on the witches' road. And they do this because each and every one of these witches want to obtain something, and if you complete the road, you're able to get something back. And so maybe the plot didn't interest everybody. I was at least curious as to how all of this would pan out. But I will say, the first 2, 3, 4 episodes, I wasn't overly enthusiastic. I wasn't overly overjoyed with the musical aspects of the show or the sillier, whimsical aspects of the show. I'm not claiming that people who are into musicals or that like musicals shouldn't have something for them. But if you're Marvel, you gotta understand that not everybody likes that shit. And so I was sort of... It also didn't help that I think I started the show right after I saw Joker 2, which was also a musical, and so I wasn't in the mood for singing in musicals and all of that shit. But it was fine. I guess ultimately it fit the tone that the show was going for. It really wasn't until, episode 6, Whichever the episode was that got into Billy's backstory and truly showed what went on with the Billy character, or I guess William, who we come to find out was another kid that had his own life and had a whole bunch of other stuff going on. He gets killed in a car accident, only for Billy Maximoff to somehow take his body and take over his body, basically get a second chance at life. And that's when I thought, holy shit, I did not expect that. I found that insanely fascinating, seeing him sort of try to maneuver and pretend to be the William guy for the parents and whatnot, but he really had his own agenda to hopefully figure out what happened to him, what happened to his brother Tommy. And so that's when I perked up. That's when I said, oh, okay, I'm actually curious about all of this. I mentioned before Aubrey Plaza. She plays a character named Rio. They touch on her and Agatha being each other's exes. I kind of wish I saw more of that, not just because lesbians, but just because I'm like, well, how did they meet? How did that get started? How did it end? We got maybe a little bit of past stuff with them, but not pertaining to their relationship specifically. The reveal that Aubrey Plaza was Death was great. I loved it. I loved seeing the character of Death. I know that people thought Hela in Thor Ragnarok was Death, but she was the goddess of death. Oh, yeah, that's different. And Death also being involved in a Marvel project is cool because in the comic books, Thanos is in love with Death. So obviously they didn't take that route with Thanos in the movies, but just the mere talk of Death when Thanos was a thing. Like comic book fans were talking about the character of Death. Will she show up? Will she not? And she didn't show up then, but she showed up now. And I thought Aubrey Plaza was perfect as far as bringing her energy and only her weird, sexy, but evil energy that only she can do. The other witches in the coven that was on the ride, you had, well, she wasn't a witch, but you had the neighbor, right? She was in WandaVision, the mother from that 70s show. She doesn't last long. Alice, who actually, I like the actress that played Alice. I kind of wish we even got more of her. And we had Lila, who, I didn't really know what to think about that character until they gave her her own episode and got into her powers a little bit. And then you had the character Jen, who had her powers stripped away, and so she's sort of going through it along with everyone else. And when you get to, I believe, episode 8, when Agatha sacrifices herself for Billy, I wasn't quite sure if I bought that from Agatha. I know they try to toe this line of like, Agatha's a piece of shit. Agatha's done all of these bad things in her life. She was the villain in WandaVision, right? But then because she's the main character of the show, I guess she has to have a good side to her, or she has to be a somewhat redeemable character. And I'm not saying villains shouldn't be redeemable. Of course, that's what makes a lot of villains interesting. But I'm not sure if they fully explored what made her change her mind, or what made her go along with this with Billy. Because Billy, I don't know, I kind of thought she hated him. I mean, people thought that maybe she had this connection to him because of what happened to Agatha's own son. For any event, she dies, and then Billy figures out that the Witch's Road was not real, that he made it up. Similar to how Wanda in WandaVision created Westview, created that town to be the TV show of whatever decade or era that she wanted it to be. Billy did this with Witch's Road, and I thought that was interesting. I did. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So all of this, Witch's Road is not really a real thing. Episode 9 gets into the flashback backstory of Agatha and how she's been using the idea of Witch's Road to trick gullible witches, kill them all to steal their powers. Once again, Agatha is a piece of shit. I know she had her whole deal with her son Nicholas and what happened to him and how he passed away, but it still made me think bad of Agatha, you know? And then you see that Agatha is a ghost now. I mean, I guess they figured out a way of how to make her look older with gray hair like she does in the comics, but it was kind of a weird effect. And I'm not sure if killing her to make her a ghost and have her stick around as a ghost is the best move to go with. The series ends on a cliffhanger where Billy, I guess, wants to go look for Tommy because they were able to put Tommy's soul or whatever the hell into another kid's dead body. And if the idea is to continue this with a season 2, I honestly don't know if the appeal is there or if the fan interest is there. Look, I know that there are some people who did not give the show a chance, who saw that it was mostly a female cast, saw that your main male character was gay. They saw all these things and cried woke and didn't bother. And I'm not saying they should have, because if they're just going to have that opinion off the bat, then fine. The show wasn't for you. But I think for people who did give it a chance and did watch more than 2 or 3 episodes, there are some cool things in here. There are some decent things in here. There are some dark things in here. Like that episode where Agatha got possessed by the ghost of her mom. That was pretty fucked up and creepy. There were creepy stuff. I did think ultimately it was a little silly and maybe not something that I'm going to be quick to revisit. I don't know what the future and the plans are for Billy Maximoff. Wanda's kids are not something, her 2 sons, they're not characters that I particularly cared to see go on and become young Avengers or heroes on their own. I just don't really care about that. I actually found it a little disappointing that the show kept mentioning that Wanda's dead. They made it clear she's dead. Now maybe Elizabeth Olsen will come back someday, one day, but with WandaVision, it felt like she finally became her true Scarlet Witch final form, only for her to get killed off in the next movie that she was in, Doctor Strange. I'm still attached to Wanda. I still want to see more of Wanda. I would be much more interested in following Wanda's story, but fuck me, right? What do I know? I thought the show was okay. I'm just going to say it was okay at best. Let me know in the comments below if you too have seen Agatha all along. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you love it? Or did you hate it? Are you not even going to bother watching it? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.